The key to winning your Dynasty Fantasy Football Leagues is not just knowing the best time to buy a player, but knowing the best time to sell them. And with the off-season in full swing, I have 6 players in this video you need to be thinking about selling right now, including a quarterback that is going to make the entire comment section kick off at me. If you like this kind of content, please consider liking and subscribing. But let's take a look at the first candidate that you have to sell this offseason. First up is our cover star himself, a man you need to get out from, Christian McCaffrey. Now, the sell window for Christian McCaffrey was probably about a year ago before his injuries. Obviously, we all know that CMC missed basically the entirety of last season with varying injuries, ultimately then being shut down, even if he maybe could have returned, because the 49ers were having such a terrible season that there was no point in risking him. Now the backfield is entirely empty aside from CMC, with just Isaac Guerendo and Jordan James, the rookie drafted in the 4th round, now behind him. And we know CMC is going to have unbelievable amounts of volume, especially with Deebo Samuel now leaving the team and some uncertainties about Brandon Ayuk's health. But this isn't an argument about CMC not having incredible fantasy production. It's an argument about the best strategy to stay competitive in dynasty leagues in the long term. People are starting to get hyped up about Christian McCaffrey. As underdog drafts are starting to open and best ball summer is among us, people are starting to realize the value that CMC is going to present in leagues next year. And now his ADP is slowly starting to creep up towards the back of that first round. And as we start to approach the season, people are going to get more and more into a redraft mentality. It might be that the best time to sell CMC is about week 4, when people are fully in contention mode and going, CMC is the best running back in the game, I need to get him on my roster, I'm going to go and trade a first for him. But we don't know how healthy this guy's going to be. He has recently attended voluntary OTAs and voluntary mini camps, so we've seen him running and we know that he feels fully healthy. But with a running back approaching their age 30 season with multiple injury histories in the past, obviously most recently missing the whole of last year, you need to find a sell window to get out of CMC before the wheels fully fall off, if they haven't already. If you don't sell him imminently, CMC is going to retire on your team, and you have to be okay with that happening. So as people start to get excited about the prospect of what CMC could be going into the 2025 season, now is the time to start auctioning him off around your leagues and seeing if anyone wants to send you a 2026 or 2027 first for a piece they think is going to really help them contend this next season and give you the chance to add some youth and replace a player who is probably not going to be an elite asset in a year's time. This is the one that everyone is going to be furious about, and it's quarterback Jayden Daniels, obviously of the Washington Commanders, the offensive rookie of the year last season, and the QB5 in his first year in the NFL. Now, this isn't a question of, I think he's overrated. This isn't a question of, I think Jayden Daniels is going to drop off. What he did last year was nothing short of incredible. And it wasn't just the fact that he stepped in and looked elite both as a passer and as a runner, but the fact that he did it with probably one of the worst supporting casts we're going to see him play with at the Commanders, both in terms of offensive line and in terms of pass catchers outside of Terry McLaurin. They've now gone out and obviously improved that offensive line with a trade for Laramie Tunsil, drafting Josh Conley out of Oregon in the first round, and trading for Deebo Samuel, although I'm not sure how washed he is just yet, so we'll see how that works out. I would have liked them to see them add another wide receiver, but Deebo Samuel is clearly an upgrade on whoever they were running out at wide receiver 2 last year, Noah Brown, for a large portion of the season. Now, this isn't a question of saying he's overrated. It's a question of saying he might be overvalued. If you look at consensus rankings, particularly going by Keep Trade Cut, Jayden Daniels is seen as the QB2. I think there is a clear top 5 or so, maybe towards top 7 in quarterbacks in Superflex. And that starts with Josh Allen, and then Lamar Jackson. And then there is a jump to me, and you can make the argument whether you then want to go Jayden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, even Patrick Mahomes from a longevity perspective. Joe Burrow's definitely up there. To me, the fact that Jayden Daniels is seen as more valuable than Lamar Jackson, who not only outperformed him last year, but has been doing this consistently at a high level for a long time and is still incredibly young, creates a clear market opportunity for you to sell high on Jayden Daniels and get another elite quarterback plus an asset. So it's not a case of saying I think Jayden Daniels is going to bust. It's not a case of saying I think this is going to be CJ Stroud syndrome, where we overhype someone and then they disappoint in year two. It's a case of saying, with how Jayden Daniels is valued right now, you have an opportunity to pivot off him to another elite quarterback, get roughly the same production, if not slightly better production if you can get Lamar Jackson with a small piece on top, and then add something else to your roster as well. I think you could go and make a move of Jalen Hurts and a wide receiver in the sort of mid-tier range like a T. Higgins for Jayden Daniels. And to me, that represents a clear value where you can improve your team at another position, potentially get another pick as well, but not lose any production at the quarterback position. Jayden Daniels is elite. He's my dynasty QB3. But I think there is a market opportunity right now where you can pivot off him and upgrade your team overall. If you can get over the fact that I'm just telling everyone to sell Jayden Daniels and you're liking this content, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. We just smashed 500 subscribers, which I'm so excited by, but there is such a lot of content to come this offseason, and I'd love you to be on that journey with me. But let's take a look at the next sell candidate. David Montgomery has been a pillar of consistency since he came to the NFL, posting a top 24 fantasy season in every single year he's played. The last couple of years have been stellar for him, with double-digit touchdowns in both years, particularly an incredible 2023 campaign where he had over 15 rushing touchdowns. But to me, he is a perfect sell candidate right now. The main question here is ceiling versus floor. David Montgomery has a fantastic floor, kind of as a flex player, but is relatively touchdown dependent, especially due to the fact that Jahmyr Gibbs is the more explosive back in this backfield, and we are seeing him more and more get the lion's share of the workload. Good work, Lewis. The ceiling, however, of David Montgomery, even if Jahmyr Gibbs was going to go down, is probably only an RB2. Which is roughly the price that you are seeing for him right now. He is consensus the RB23 across dynasty rankings. Then, they have just lost Ben Johnson, who was the person who wanted the whole thunder and lightning components of the backfield. So there's a chance that this offense could take a step down going into next season, having lost potentially the best offensive coordinator in the game. But David Montgomery is still valued as a relatively elite asset, and I think the ceiling is just not truly there. If the touchdown totals come down, David Montgomery could lose out on a fair share of his fantasy points, and he has had one of the highest shares of his points from touchdowns across the last couple of seasons. David Montgomery is also aging, and there is a clear out in his contract after the 2026 season, where the Lions can save $8 million in cap space. I think he's probably only on this team for another 2 years. I think there's a chance that the offense could take a step back, and I think even if it doesn't, he doesn't have the highest ceiling in this offense with Jahmyr Gibbs as well. But even if he went out, I don't think he's going to be an elite RB1. David Montgomery is still valued as a relatively fantastic dynasty fantasy football asset. But if you can get off of him this season for a late first or maybe an early second round pick, or even pivoting to another running back who can offer similar production like James Conner, I would be doing that 100% of the time. It always makes me feel incredibly old when we start to talk about players that I still consider young as sell candidates because they are aging, but AJ Brown is exactly that. AJ Brown will be 28 heading into the 2025 season, which is the right time of age to start thinking about pivoting off him. but he is still seen as a relatively young asset and someone you should be building your team around, despite only being a couple of years younger than Chris Godwin, who is seen as completely over the hill and someone you need to move on from. AJ Brown finished last season as a wide receiver 2, having finished as a top 10 wide receiver his other 2 seasons in Philadelphia. Now, again, this isn't an argument that I think AJ Brown is about to take a massive step back, but I do think with Saquon Barkley in the backfield, he has lost a little bit of his workload. I don't think Jalen Hurts is the most accurate of passers, so he's not someone I consistently want sustaining my elite wide receiver 1. And I think AJ Brown definitely has a few good years of production or few years of elite production before he then takes a step back. But heading into his age 28 season, you can take advantage of the fact that people still see AJ Brown as young because they don't realize that he's about to turn 28. And you can pivot off him for a younger asset like potentially a Rashee Rice, Lad McConkey, or even Marvin Harrison Jr. If you could get Marvin Harrison Jr. and a small piece on top for AJ Brown, that's a deal that I'd be looking to make. This is just about perception of the player. He is still seen as an elite cornerstone asset, a young player that you can build around, but actually AJ Brown is sneakily not that young anymore. For a Rams fan, I seem to spend a lot of time on my channel talking about selling Kyren Williams, but in this video, I'm going to do exactly that again and again. Kyren Williams has finished as the RB7 the last 2 years, and if you drafted him in the 3rd round of your Dynasty rookie drafts 3 years ago, he has represented some unbelievable value, but I do think now is the time to move on. Kyren is due an extension after this season, and there are talks already that he is seeking $12 million per year, which I just don't believe the Rams are going to want to do. And I think they've been telling us that with their moves for the last couple of years, drafting Blake Corum in the 3rd round in the 2024 draft, and just last month, drafting Jarquez Hunter in the 4th round. These are 2 backs who have a relatively similar profile to Kyren Williams. And I don't think this is a case of saying we want to handcuff him with similar backs. I think this is a case of saying we're not anticipating Kyren being on this team long term, so we want a similar player who can step in to replace him. The problem with Kyren Williams is I think he's a perfect fit for the Rams offense, but I'm not sure he would be an elite contributor if he were to move elsewhere. The Rams have a good run blocking line, a very creative and intelligent play caller, and Kyren Williams is someone who is very able to take what's there in front of him. But without that offensive line and without that offensive play calling, I think he would struggle to make things happen on his own. So if Kyren Williams isn't re-signed to the LA Rams and ends up moving on elsewhere as a free agent, I think his value would drop quite significantly. If you can move off Kyren this offseason because he's still seen as an elite asset, it's something that I would be looking to do, even if it means moving to a less certain back or potentially onto a rookie. Kyren is someone that I am looking to sell in any league that I have him because I don't think he's long for the LA Rams, and I don't really want him if he's not on that team. My last sell candidate is Sam Darnold, and this is someone that if you've been paying attention, I have never particularly liked the value of. Sam Darnold obviously performed well in Minnesota last year and got himself a big contract for Seattle, which I was delighted about because I don't think Sam Darnold is very good, and obviously I'm a Rams fan, so I'm happy to see him fail at the Seahawks. Sam Darnold obviously played well for the majority of the season, but he fell apart in the playoffs and towards the end of the season when the games really mattered. And this is kind of the issue with Sam Darnold. I think he's good. I think he's fine. I don't think he's great. So I don't think he's ever going to take you to the next level. The Seattle Seahawks signed him to a 3-year, $100 million deal. But if you look at the way this is put together, they can basically get out of it at any time. Sam Darnold is being valued as if he is the long-term starter in Seattle, and I just don't think that's the case. Seattle also still have some problems with their offensive line, even despite drafting a guard in round 1. Their tackle situation isn't fantastic, and that right guard spot is going to be hugely problematic for them, and we know that Sam Darnold needs an elite offensive line to function. I don't think the Sam Darnold experiment in Seattle is going to go the way that people think it will. And I think there's a chance that next season he's heading in as a backup again, even though he performed so well in Minnesota. So, with him currently being valued as a starting quarterback and a relatively good option for fantasy, now is the time to move on when he's signed his big extension, because this... What's the Cinderella thing? This car? Was it a car? Was it a cart? He's about to turn back into a pumpkin. That's what I'm trying to say. I can't remember Cinderella very well, but hopefully you're not watching this for Cinderella references. Sell Sam Darnold is what I'm saying. I think I've turned back into a pumpkin after that. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you've enjoyed, please consider liking and subscribing, and drop a comment down below. Shout at me about telling you to sell Jayden Daniels, or let me know the kind of veterans that you're looking to sell this offseason, and let me know, and I'll let you know what kind of price I would sell them for. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next time.